inside here, you know, you get an insight and you know something, you know, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you, you know. But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful to say.
Feel my heart, it's beat tight. Oh, my body's breathing, it's just you and me. Feel my heart, it's beat tight. Oh, my body's breathing, it's just you and me. I'm so caught in this, we're so lost deep in it, can't stop. I'm forever the one you call. Let's free fall. I'm so caught in this, we're
Sitting in a 4v3.
SCR Esports trying to find an angle they can, trying to find somebody out of position.
We're gonna go through on this. Oh, what a roll. We're gonna take See White gonna go in.
It's going to be a really, really interesting one.
Oh my god. All of this competition could be so damn close, so I cannot wait for us to finally decide who's going to be the champion. We are expecting some chaos, some great moments.
A beast mode has killed 3. Only gonna really need that rampage, so gonna clear it out. Sanji gonna get themselves a big old 4K. Oh, Sanji's getting rid of 3, clearing out the house.
That is crazy.
Nunji actually kills 3 people.
This team feels entirely different on this faster composition. Now it's before he's hanging around, getting onto the high ground. Post bomb's gonna stick on the Leaky. You're not gonna be able to survive it at the end of the day. Manages to find a 3K.
Rio shoving this Rana into a corner. Woo! One more for the road for Rio. That is all signs go. Melophobia with 3 Melophobia. Starting the fight. They'll end the fight. Oh my god. Eagle Bus, they have to play aggressively into this energy. Popping off in a moment where you needed just that. Ruby in that backline. Oh, the flick. Looking for it. Oh my goodness. The 4th one as well. Do they get the ace? They get the ace.
Welcome in, everybody, to another happy Saturday. Welcome to the weekend, friends. We have an EU Masters match here in the CGL for you today. My name is Speedy, and I am joined here by Mega Lass. Mega, happy weekend. How we doing?
Happy weekend indeed. Today, it's just another day here at CGL. Week 5, we got all that hype of the midseason out, so now we're on the back end of things, and we got a nice little match in the EU Masters tier to go over with SCR Esports going up against Dragon's Aura. Should make for a fun one.
Definitely. It's going to be 2 sides of this division that we have here, the Masters tier. SCR coming off a semifinal placement in the midseason tournament. Dragon's Aura, on the other hand, have yet to find themselves a win here in this tier. So a lot to prove for them, and they are going to have the first ban in this set. So is there anything we should expect either of these teams to be targeting out?
I haven't gotten the chance to go and, fact check every single ban, but I think the bans will become more telling as the series goes on, right? Like, it's always been the case with that. Your control bans are more just metas you don't want to play against, like you're seeing Dragon's Aura banning the Malga. It means they just don't want to deal with probably any form of brawl or rush composition. But then the bans can get more targeted from there on out. SCR on the other side, though, knowing that brawl is not on the table, be interested to see if they try to disable maybe some dive characters, or they could disable anti-dive itself with Torbjorn out of the mix.
Yeah, there we go. So 2 very different ways to go about this one. The Mauga and the Torb gonna kind of stop a singular playstyle that's been popularized lately. Gonna make sure that that's not gonna be available here on this first map. Interesting to see the Torbjorn being the response to the Mauga. You'd think that there'd be something on the other side in the supports, but DPS, I've been noticing a lot of focus down since those perks have come out. It seems like some players still having a little bit of a tricky time dealing with the strength that some of these DPS have been built up with now. So looking at SCR Esports to start us off, we are going to have JOP, Salmon, Fishnot, Octane, and Staney kicking us off on this one. And looking at this composition right here, I think we know the style that they favor.
Yeah, and I mean, Dive, the name of the game, not going to be too surprised. I think I actually remember casting a few matches from this team, so I want to say right now, look out for Octane Short, maybe covering the support role right now, but I promise the damage coming out from them will be real. Standing up on the other side, though, you have Dragon's Aura again. Maybe not the best start to the season right now. They are still looking to get a win in the win column, but any day can be that first day. We have Akina and Shivaking on that DPS line. Jory on tank, and then Nara and Dipsax on the healers. I mean, overall, it is just going to be, again, just looking to see if this team can continue their improvement and see what they can find in these matchups.
Yeah, that's the name of the game at this point because we are in the second half of this season. Now, you talked about us coming out of those mid-season tournaments. There was a lot that was proven along every tier, and right now, truthfully, I think that both of these teams have something to prove in very, very different ways. While Dragon's Aura are still chasing down their very first win, I think SCR want to put themselves back toward the top. They want to prove that they're not just a top 4 team here, but a team that can contest in the finals. So, taking a look at our lineup for this match, where both of these teams have their proving grounds. It's going to start off on Nepal, heading on that control as usual. This is going to be a very fun one to watch because Dive does not always serve every single objective here on this particular map. We might have to see SCR changing their style if they can't lock anything down with the one they want to play.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be something that's certainly needing to be considered here. But again, any team can really make things work if they truly are skilled enough at it. At least here in the spawn rooms, we are seeing, I was going to say, the Reinhardt is not what I would expect. Our favorite German Crusader, he's just not the tank he used to be, to put it nicely. But both teams hovering kind of a pseudo-dive look. I really like these backlines, the slight difference being, of course, the Brig over the Juno, but both with the Ana in play, valuing the nano boost. You're going to see a lot of engages try to be followed up on with these anti-nades. And I feel like whatever Ana can actually, stay out of harm's way long enough to make sure that they're applying that as an anti. I'm sorry, that teleporter just made me laugh a little bit. Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, no, not the best. Definitely been better. Not for me particularly. They pretty much always end up like that, but we've still seen better across the board. Both of these teams going to be coming out on the Winston, and it's going to be Fishnot engaging first on a big anti back line. Gets 3 right off the bat. The entire back line. Both of the DPS go down. It is a real quick sweep here for the side of SCR, picking up all of those elims real early on.
And like I said, whatever Ana is not going to feel under pressure to keep themselves alive with their biotic grenade, throw those big antis, it will just be a fight winner in and of itself, being able to take people out of the fight before you can realize anything else that is happening here. So again, you are just going to be sort of waiting to see where these engages go. If a nade fails, then it's going to have to be a DPS to step up and find an opening.
And this time it's going to be Geodry trying to take the engagement, but once again, it's Fishnot's getting in the back line, not finding as much as quickly this time, however. It takes a little bit longer, but with both of those supports down and the Ana still being available, well, as I say that, Staney does drop, so it's a real back and forth here. You can see that Fishnot is so low right now, eventually going to drop, and with only one player remaining, it doesn't really look like SCR are going to be able to do anything more than stall. It was a nice recall at the last moment there for Salmon. Going to contest just a little bit longer. The Brig is back in, and both of these DPS are here, so Dragon Aura have to get themselves back in.
Yeah, and having to get themselves back in here, but it might just be a bit of a reset opportunity. Now you see the biotic grenade used. It's a massive engage tool now down here, so yeah, that's going to just be the go button on the other side.
Yeah, it's an engagement, but another nice whip shot keeps Geodry from getting too deep in the back line. There's a lot of resistance from the front. Those bubble shields have to be used not deep in the back line, but instead right up front. Now the Primal Rage getting popped has this player cornered. JOP actually stays alive thanks to a sleep dart from Dipsax. So a little bit longer on this Primal Rage. They get to engage. It is stalling out the time here on SCR, but not a ton of value gained from that Primal.
Yeah, but I mean, it kept you in the fight and it keeps you going, so that's all you need at the end of the day. Now with another re-engage, it's going to be the Nano coming out early from this side, and already Dipsax is down.
Oh, what quick eliminations coming out from the side of SCR there. The Nano does get used on Fishnot. No Primal popped, and they still find the value anyway, so you get to conserve an ultimate, and you still find a lot of quick eliminations there. Despite the backline dropping, they'll be able to come back in pretty quickly here, and it looks like it'll be another even fight because SCR are trying to drop off the point to make sure they don't get caught out.
Yeah, and making sure that these ultimates are traded out properly, right? That's going to be both support ults that SCR had to use here. So now it's going to be on Dragon's Aura to have their turn with things to be able to come in and commit with a nano boost. But that nade is massive.
They always are. Those nades have been huge from Staney, and it results in Nara going down first. They're still going to commit the nano blade here. It finds Octane first, but a lot of DPS ults on the other side coming out too. Salmon finds Shiva King and Geodry, so a really big shutdown there. Although the blade user stays alive long enough to get through the ultimate, it will not be a successful hold there for Dragon's Aura. They can't get on the point, and they only have 10% remaining.
Yeah, it's going to be important to make sure somebody actually gets onto the point. That's why I'm seeing Geodry go over to this Wrecking Ball, make sure that there's some pressure, but it's going to be dueling overclocks here, trying to see who can find something with that Sojourn Rail.
What an early rally used to kind of getting ready for Fish not to engage, and it wastes a little bit of the time on the engagement. The overclocks here going back and forth. Shiva and JOP each find one, but it's actually Salmon picking up most of these eliminations. A Wrecking Ball to touch the point for now, but Salmon has just absolutely run through Dragon's Aura. Had free movement. Nobody was able to really contest that there with the rally having already been eliminated. So it will be SCR with a fairly easy hold, although they did have a little bit of trickiness in the middle of that one. It seems like they figured themselves out.
Yeah, it seems like they had their set positioning, and it was impossible for Dragon's Aura to dislodge them. And in fact, they never really seemed to get somebody over onto Staney and Octane more than once, right? So I feel like that's going to be sort of the adaptation Dragon's Aura needs to make moving forward. Find out where this Honor Brig are wanting to station. They're stationing far enough back that there's not realistically too much peel that the rest of SCR can commit. So if you can actually find these supports, it will be beneficial to you. Granted, as we're heading on over to the Shrine, we're going to see a switch up of composition here. It's going to be more of the brawl style. Geodry is going to actually walk out on the Reinhardt comboed with the Mei. You're going to be looking for isolations onto single targets here, but Fish not, whether ready, knowing or whatever it is, just coming out on the Orisa, the natural counter to be able to live through these things.
A really nice start here from SCR. The adaptation from Dragon's Aura fits the map that we're looking at here, but unfortunately they're looking into something where small adjustments, just changing that tank, is going to make a really big difference. Dragon's Aura getting aggressive right off the bat, though. They're able to chase down JOP, find that one really quickly. So now they do have the numbers advantage. They're moving as a pack, as an entire 5-stack all together. This Mei and Reinhardt are, of course, always going to travel together, but they are really sticking it close right now. Geodry drops a little bit low, but not nearly as low as Fishnot, who ends up getting taken down. And without your tank, that's the rest of SCR having to drop back. So despite it being a pretty direct counter on paper, Dragon's Aura played that one very well.
Incredibly well, right? Like, obviously, we talk about the synergy of the Rhine and the Mei. They want to be able to play together, but something that you're not considering is dip stacks on this Baptiste, right? Already 75 to a window. That means that this Bap was doing damage in the fight. Orisa's head, one of the freest in the game to really gain ult charge off of. So a quick window here could give Dragon's Aura even more momentum on this point.
Dragon's Aura making a lot more swaps, but it doesn't take a swap for JOP to find their mirror in Shiva King. Finds a second one in Nara as well, and a third. So 4 might just finish off the Mei, and it's a full ace for JOP, and quite a quick one as well. The same way that we saw Dragon's Aura engaging with such speed in the last engagement, SCR said, yeah, that looks good. We'll take one of those for ourselves.
Yeah, again, the pace is going to be able to dictate a lot of things here. Obviously, that's going to be mostly determined off of when these Junos choose to use the speed ring, whether it's called by somebody else on the team or what have you. But getting stuck in corridors like this, you see how much damage that disruptor shot is doing, and now JOP is going to have an overclock to mirror the window that Dipsax is going to try to bring in.
That window getting dropped as well in a pretty nice position too, where you can engage from either side of the pillar in the middle of the shrine. A nice wall there, but a decent disengagement from SCR too, saying we can win this fight as long as we stall out the ultimates. That's what they're going to be going for. Gold form already used the Orisa in the middle of Dragon Aura's team, and now the Genji behind them. It can get dangerous, but Geodry does find Staney to give them a little bit of an advantage in the fight. Shiva getting taken out is going to minimize the amount of damage coming out. Nara drops 2, but it's traded for Octane. Dip stacks dropping, leaves a couple players for each side. The wall is there, but the Orisa uses that Terra Surge and finds the Mei, who didn't have the ice block available, and that'll be all the difference. So despite being walled off, SCR will be able to hold.
Being able to hold massively here now. Looking into this next fight, you have a slew of ultimates coming out from both sides here. I'm especially looking to where these orbital rays are going to be placed. They both have things that are going to try to out heal and provide that extra damage boost to try to end fight quickly for their respective teams. So I feel like the Juno players have these next fights completely in their hands.
And they're trying to crouch walk here on the way in, but I think it's pretty readable at this point. I mean, you've got JOP looking straight down the high ground there, the little makeshift high ground on the shrine. A couple of players caught out on the top here for SCR, so Dragon's Aura are going to engage right in, but it's an orbital ray from the back of SCR that are going to support them through finding some really, really quick cleanups. Thanks to Dragon's Aura capping the point in that last fight, this won't quite be the end of it. They will have another chance to touch, and they've got ultimates to work with as well.
Yeah, again, now they can go in with their own orbital ray, not worry about Octanes on the other side, as well as a shatter, right? You don't even necessarily need anything massive or crazy for it. If you can get one target on the ground and the focus fire can be there from the rest of the team, that's all you realistically need, because one member of SCR's comp missing should be the end of it.
It is tough to find a target to shatter here in this comp. You really can't blame Geodry for still having it right now. An orbital ray to engage those, slowly moving in, maybe a little bit too slowly for the team, honestly. The anti-nade is down and a freeze as well. Salmon is able to get one with the blade, but it's going to be a kinda here, picking up most of everything left, showing up for the DPS side of Dragon's Aura. SCR able to hold this one out despite being really scattered in this fight. They haven't had their tank for the majority of that engagement. They're going to hold on with 99% for now, but with no supports, it's really surprising that Geodry's been able to hold on to as much of their HP as they have. Looks like the Tracer is going to be in to try and help with a little bit of the damage, but the two players that were left remaining have dropped, so now it's just going to be staggers from Dragon Aura. They're not able to get their feet planted, and SCR will pick up a second point for a win starting off here on Nepal.
Yeah, absolutely good hold here. Turning that fight around when you realistically had no shot in it. Again, it just shows how good this SCR squad is, why they can fight with the best of the best here, and JOP being a shining example of that. Dragon's Aura, though, not completely helpless, right? Not this image of them that they currently are conjuring with that 0-4 record. They had their strategies most certainly, and they clearly had some good fight plans that they wanted to try to execute on, but you know, at the end of the day, they just came up a little bit short in what they wanted to execute there on Nepal.
Just a little bit, but as you mentioned, definitely a better showing than what some may expect looking at the records of these two. A team that was in the semifinals of that midseason tournament, and it's not even like they went down 3-0. They were competing with the best of the best, and they were taking maps. And in this EU Masters, Dragon Aura have yet to find a win. In fact, they don't have many map wins under their belt at this point. So being able to take it to SCR like this and actually challenge them on both points that were played, it's not just a compositional feature. It's not just the map. It's they were able to hold out on everything. They were able to actually get an ultimate economy advantage. They were able to take a less favored composition and play it into something that should be a direct tank counter and actually find some middling success with it. So so far, Dragon's Aura showing up better than we may have expected them to. I think they're a week off there in that midseason tournament. They've definitely been practicing. They've been showing up pretty big so far, and I'm excited to see if they continue to hold up with that kind of, I guess, just the even level playing ground that they have with SCR right now, because control is one thing, but when you get into all the other game types that aren't quite so similar to that control style, where there's a lot more movement and fluidity, maybe Dragon's Aura will show up even better, or maybe SCR will just dominate like some expected them to.
Yeah, I mean, that really is going to be sort of the thing that we have to watch out for as we move on in this series. But, you know, something specifically I want to just hammer down on, right, with that first round, how great SCR looked, finding the value on those biotic grenades, and I feel like they're going to be able to do a lot more of that heading into Hollywood, with that being our next map up on the ticket, right? This is a map known for dives simply because there's so much high ground across all 3 points that you have to control it. You can't necessarily be like, oh, we'll just ignore it and try to play on the objective. Is a surefire way to get rained down on, whether it's biotic grenades, some sort of hit scan presence, really tearing you apart. It's something that Dragon's Aura is going to have to consider here going into this map, right? Do you try to ban some of those dive-heavy characters, take the Ana out of the pool, play a different style, or do you lean into it a little bit more, say, okay, we found out why we were floundering a little bit, let's actually take this as a dive mirror and see what we can come up with?
Well, before we know what they're going to be able to play, we have to know what they won't. So Dragon's Aura, coming off of that loss, they will be able to have the first ban for the second time in a row. This time, of course, the Mauga unavailable for them to ban out. But with us heading into Hollywood on the next one, Mauga might not be the only option. We saw success from the side of SCR on the Winston, on Nepal there, and that's that's a hero that works very, very well on Hollywood, especially during that middle section of the map. Instead, they're going to target down the support line and go for the Juno to try and slow down both the healing and movement speed of a really popular pick.
I like this because it's a way to ban Ana compositions without necessarily banning Ana outright, right? In case they still want to opt into themselves. Now, for any team to have any sort of speed or agency in the game, it means Lucio is going to have to be the thing to come out. That generally means that Kiriko is going to follow that Lucio out of spawn. They just are the healers that work best together when you have to play the Lucio. Anything else, it feels a little bit desynced. SCR on the other side, though, banning the D.Va, I think, is just sort of indicating that they want to take this as a straight up dive mirror. They want to keep playing that Winston, like you said. It looked incredible for them. They don't want to have to worry about a D.Va putting a defense matrix in the rest of the team's face or anything like that. Makes it just a much more active style of play.
Yeah, it makes me question what SCR wants to play here, because usually you're trying to stop or enable yourself to be able to spam the other side when you ban out that D.Va, and I'm wondering if that's only for the DPS, or if perhaps they want to play a tank that isn't as divey as we would expect from them. Maybe their Hollywood game is a little bit more grounded. Maybe they do want to bring out the Mauga here and just be able to beat down the front line with an onslaught of ammunition and spam. So we'll just have to see once we get into it. But I think I'd like to see SCR sticking to the dive if I had my own choice. I definitely think that the dive would work better for them. We've seen it work for them already. I think they had a better game on it in general. They coordinated those Ana antis very, very well. But as you mentioned, with the Juno not being available, it becomes a lot harder to play that Ana.
Yeah, it becomes incredibly difficult, right? Because, again, you end up either sacrificing all speed, going over to something like a Brig Ana in order to make sure that that Ana feels protected in what you want to do, or you have to play that Lucio. And again, that sort of forcefully involves the Kiriko in the composition. But don't get me wrong, Kiriko's an amazing healer in her own right, and it could be a viable option if you know the other team's going to try to opt into that Brig Ana style, having that cleansing Suzu for when those antis come through, just so that way that dive is a little bit less potent. It has one more thing to fear. It could be a good look for them, but again, it's sort of a time will tell situation, as if I'm not mistaken, we have a little bit of server issues. I love Overwatch. It happens to the best of us, but once we get everybody make sure that they're good in lobby, we'll be good to go. But in the meantime, we're just kind of chilling and waiting.
Still sitting on SCR at a lead of 1-0. Dragon's Aura trying to grab onto something. Their record so far has just not been impressive, and I think that with the way they're playing, they're not necessarily a team that doesn't have a chance in this Masters tier. There's a shot for them to be, at least above the bottom teams in the league right now. If you can take it to SCR the way you did on that first map, the only thing we have to see is a continuation of that, because Control can sometimes give us a view of a match that isn't quite accurate. Sometimes it gives us a view of a match that's a little bit skewed because one team specializes in the playstyle that works better on Control. Sometimes it can be harder to play the dive. When we move on to something like Hollywood here, we're going to see that dive be used much, much more just fittingly. I don't think it's going to be any more efficient or any more useful. It just fits this map style and play style so much better, especially with all the high ground that's going to be coming out here. The constant movement of the map as the objective is contested or pushed forward, it just allows for that dive to get really aggressive and be more unpredictable. I think that's scary for a team like Dragon's Aura, who definitely looked better when it was that head-to-head brawl than when it was the head-to-head dive. So the bans are going to be really big here, and we have to see if the bans they decided to come out with are actually going to work to slow down SCR or not, because I think this one leans SCR's way if the dive is still fluid enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's generally what you can read on paper. Because again, if we're thinking back, I'm expecting SCR to run out on the Ana break, at least for defense. Once you come to your offense, again, that's where you might be hurting for that speed. Because you can still technically play the Ana break on your offense, but especially first point, it's so brutal, taking extra time, extra rotations to make sure that your supports are successfully set up on some of those forward high grounds to give them favorable positioning. Because if they have to try to play from main, it just becomes a hellish experience, to say the least, where they're getting rained down on with damage from everything. and it just continues to be a struggle for the attackers as they go throughout the map. So you're going to probably end up favoring more of those speeds. But again, if you can, force some sort of Lucio Kiri maybe instead, have some cleanses, make it so those antis aren't as potent, we'll actually have to see if the dive can still make its magic happen without the use of that biotic grenade. Because if they start to flounder a little bit, that's where Dragon Zora can sort of find those openings, take these fights a little bit longer, but they end up winning them at the end.
And then, of course, you always have to consider that SCR aren't looking for a dive here, at least not for the entirety of the map. Because of that ban that they picked on the D.Va, it really is piquing my interest because D.Va is sometimes considered a more superior dive tank in the current state of the game. However, it's going to be Fishnot and Geodry both holding on to that Winston right now. SCR bringing the Winston out of spawn, and they will be playing this Brig on a dive. You talked about it being a lot easier to lock in on a defense, and I think that this point as well, in particular, this first point here, it's much, much easier to sit on this for the moment and not really have to worry about having that Juno banned out too much.
Exactly. You play on top of Cafe. If anybody wants to try to some sort of set lineup nade on you, it takes forever. You have a roof above you, so that way the dives can't even be as consistent either. So overall, it's phenomenal for the Honor Brig, at least for first point. Once you start getting into second and stuff, that's where you start to worry about it and making sure you have to play for your positioning. Dragon Zora on the other side, though, they're just going to take this forward high ground, very simple, and get ready.
And we've got the engagement here from Fishnot as well. Geodry finds Octane, though. Definitely a cleaner dive. Get the one and get out. Now it is in on the backline in Hotel here. Nice sleep on a Geodry, but immediately gets shot and woken up. The DPS are taking care of business as well. That Genji doing a good job to counter all of the hit scan coming forward. So it is a cleanup for Dragon Zora and a first attempt, first cap for them.
Yeah, I really like this style where you have the Tracer Genji. You're not seeing this all too often anymore. A lot of teams like to opt in for the Tracer Sojourn and looks like that. Add some hit scan into the mix. But when you have Tracer Genji, it just means that you have 3 people there with your Winston instead of 2. These constant aggressive dives here are going to constantly result in picks. Like, look at this. Geodry can just keep going in.
Yeah, you can hold so far forward here. And the instant cleanse on the anti as well. Such great timing there from Nara. I mean, it was immediate. Allowed the healing to start coming back in right away. Nara really the only player to drop there from the side of Dragon Zora, so it's still a lot of pressure being held forward by the Dragons right now. This Tracer's being a little bit annoying on point. JOP was able to stall out for a bit of time and get the team to respawn a little more together. That Tracer, of course, going to be able to come back in easier. But look how far up Dragon Zora are.
Yeah, I mean, play these forward high grounds, right? Because, again, this is where the Honor Break becomes a bit of a hindrance. They have to be able to set up on high grounds, and they're not getting that opportunity.
No, zero opportunity to set up. It's the backline taken down immediately. Both of the supports dropped. Akiana does end up falling, but Shiva right now just gets to hang out on cart. Gonna push around this bend, so you've got that straightaway already taken care of. You pretty much only have one more defensible position here, but I mean, Dragon Zora already have themselves set up. They do have to drop down under the bank, under the prison here, so they don't get to hold that high ground any longer. Finally, it looks like SCR have stabilized themselves a little bit on that high ground. They decided to dive in a little bit deeper, further back, go for the supports first, and let their backline take care of themselves. It has worked out for them. Finally, SCR hold, but with 4 minutes still remaining, Dragon Zora are closing in on the second point.
And, I mean, that right there is what SCR absolutely needed to do, right? It's the constant thing of trading backlines and just hoping your backline lives longer than the opponents, right? Because if they live longer, then you can peel back for them after the fight, but just taking these supports out is going to be the name of the game. But already with the Kitsune Rush, seems like Nara is ready to fight this.
Nara goes down first, though, so pays a little bit for using the Kitsune Rush, but the DPS making good use of it, finding both of the supports on the side of SCR. They do take down Shiva, but with no supports available, it means that all health will be permanently taken. Fishnot pops that Primal Rage. Going to be trying to disrupt any of the remaining hold from Dragon's Aura. They are on cart. They are pushing. You have to make sure you don't C9 this one. Both bubbles are down. These Winstons fighting each other, but it's the Brig coming back in, forcing the Primal Rage out of Geodry, who's actually going to push all the players back into spawn. Try to let the team come back in and push that cart. Get rid of this Winston, the tank, on the other side. It's going to be Fishnot surviving, though. Not only that, but the Nano is available as well. So the fight slowed down a little bit. It looked like Dragons were going to try to pull back. Unfortunately, Akiana going down means they have to fall back even further.
Yep, they have to get their Genji back in the fight. It was a heavy investment from both teams, but the defense managed to hold strong. And like you said, they kept the Nano in the pocket here. So now having a Nano Winston engage is going to be so crucial. That could actually force out a cleansing Suzu before an anti even could. And then look at that. I mean, already Dip6 is down.
Right away. Those dives are so fast and so scared from SCR. The thing that Dragonzora are doing here is every single time the dive comes forward, they counter dive by going straight in on the supports who just aren't being taken care of the same way. And you have to wonder if being forced to play that Brig Ana is making them suffer a little bit. They're using their utility to be more aggressive, and it's resulting in their team dropping because they can't defend themselves and they get taken down so quickly.
Again, it's down to trading backlines, and you would think an Honor Brig is super sustainable, but against a triple dive, it just is not what you would think it is. Meanwhile, Kiriko has the ability to sort of teleport out and run away if the fight gets a little bit scary. Granted, Geodry probably wish they had the ability to teleport as well there, but overall, Dragonzora with a much better look right now.
Yeah, a nice little anti there, actually, for the dive. Takes care of the Ana, and even though it only gets one, that still does slow down the respawns here from Dragonzora. So you get what you were looking for, but you're right back to neutral again. Nara and Shiva both coming up on ultimates here that are going to be working into JOP, who's also got that Pulse Bomb, and Fishnot, who's got the Primal back online. The Primal and the Nano have been a little bit out of sync, but it's not quite as useful as the Blade, of course. You're definitely going to want to save it out more often. Shiva does go wide with the Pulse Bomb here, but there's still plenty of damage to come as the Kitsune Rush goes down. So SCR taking down a couple of those targets, trying to rush into them. Nara's Kitsune Rush not really picking up much at all. SCR were able to withstand that quite easily.
Yeah, being able to play in the Kitsune Rush as the opponent right there, SCR just getting value out of realizing their opponents are all going to be grouped up. A beautiful primal usage from Fishnot here. So Dragonzora, again, for another reset engage here, are trying to look for something to dislodge themselves onto this high ground, but their backline's under pressure.
The backline of SCR constantly taking tons of damage and so much pressure, as you mentioned. Salmon actually finds the backline on the other side, but ends up dropping. Both the Genjis are down, so now it's just Tracers and Winstons going head-to-head here. It is simply those forward dive damage dealers. No sneaky plays needed. Geodry finds Fishnot first, but the respawns as this cart pushes forward going to be in favor of SCR, so Dragonzora have to be careful about how far up they get here. They do get their team back in time. Salmon sitting here with the Blade, ready to go. Gonna have that boost as well with the perk online. So Viana can't hit the sleep here, which they do, but gets taken down immediately by Fishnot. Gonna be Fishnot pushing even further into the back now. The cleanse gets used, but you know exactly where those supports are going, straight to the cart. SCR can group up here. The Nano does get used. That will be a hold as Nara drops here for the side of SCR.
Yeah, a little bit of a scary hold indeed here. It felt like it was slipping out of SCR's hands a little bit, but they do manage to group right back up. I think both Primals are actually still being invested. I think both teams believe this fight's winnable, even though SCR clearly have a numbers advantage right now, so I'm not quite sure what the game plan was there from Geodry, but you're going to reset with the rest of your team. You have about a minute back left in the clock to work with here. I think it's going to be very crucial for Dragonzora to take a fight that they're guaranteed to lose here, force out the Blade, see if you can even get the Pulse Bomb for your trouble, seeing as you have nothing in the bank, then come back into it, take a longer overtime fight. Once that overtime starts burning, you should be able to build up to a Kitsune Rush and try to make something happen from there.
They may just be playing this one a little bit too slow. You only have 35 seconds remaining. You're not trying to capitalize on that ante. Chasing a Tracer right now, if that's your best option, it is rough shape for you. Salmon does pull out the Blade, isn't able to find any eliminations with it, but does disperse a lot of the team. A ton of disruption there. For a moment, Dragonzora able to pick up a few, but it can't be trades back and forth. You only have 15 seconds, and SCR have a huge spawn advantage. Akanya here gonna hide. Try to get the touch. Needs in this last couple of seconds to be able to get on, and in this last 5 seconds we're going to see another fight. It's just not going to be a great one from the side of Dragonzora. Immediately SCR jump on the cart. It's straight back into the back line. The Pulse Bomb in hand for JOP. Who will they find? It won't be Akanya because they're already down to Octane. The healing coming through as well. The Pulse Bomb onto Dipsax, and that will be most of the team dropping from Dragonzora. Nara tries to invest the Kitsune Rush, but obviously won't be good for much else. That overtime timer will tick down, and right before the end of the map, SCR will be able to hold.
Yep, finally, the hold comes through. Granted, I mean, like you said, it's the very tail end of the map, so SCR still have a task ahead of them for their offense if they want to take a 2-0 lead right now. Dragonzora looked pretty damn solid. You know, they ultimately started losing momentum on point B, but it started coming down to this point C. They just seemed to not know how to fully attack it. They couldn't get onto those supports as easily with how far back they could play, and it just kind of let the rest of SCR do what they do best, which is just chop up the opposition here. So now we'll have to see what sort of adjustments we see for flipping from attack to defense, right? SCR, we talked about it. The honor break can work on defense, but on attack, it just means extra rotations, extra pain points for your teams, having to try to be a little bit more safe in terms of how they play the game. But at the end of the day, if they're just more comfortable on the honor break, then that could be the end of it. Dragonzora, at least for their defense, they are going to be trying the honor break as well here, which is interesting because we haven't seen them roll out on this specific variant yet. We've seen the honor at least in play, but coupled with the Juno, and now actually an Ashe as well out for Shiva. This could be a better look as long as the poke damage is there, right? You're landing dynamites. It could be as powerful as an anti-native. The follow-up is there from the rest of your squad.
I think SCR here running quite a difficult composition for that Ashe to play into, though. Not only going to be pestered by that Genji so frequently once they decide that Shiva is going to be that target. Undoubtedly, when you see a hit scan, Genji will change their priority to that target. And then JOP here starting out on the Widow. If they catch that Ashe, no, doesn't quite find them yet, so they won't be challenged by that. We'll just have to see if Salmon is going to engage this high ground repetitively and keep annoyance on that Ashe. I like where the Ashe is playing, though, with the supports so that they won't be caught out separated, and it'll be more than just them to deal with.
More than just them is the key. But again, it's just going to be more about setting up and the attackers. Again, it's about these rotations, right? You have to be able to get your Ana and break into place here. When you just try to jump from main, this is what happens to Fishknot.
Yeah, Salmon does end up finding one on the dive, but gets taken down by Shiva, who was the other target they obviously wanted to go for. Still, Octane and JOP are able to shut down those DPS, and Geodry is sitting on 1 HP right now. If they can find him, yeah, they'll go down as well. So, 3 players still remaining here. You don't have your big frontliner anymore to protect you, but as the rest of the players trickle in, SCR should be contested, although there may be an attempt at a touch here. We see Geodry almost back. No, it doesn't look like they're going to funnel through, so they're going to hold and try to get a more secure position here on the second point.
Yep, in that secure position, like you said, immediately seeing everybody go up to these high grounds here. It's where you're going to want to station people. And again, you're going to want to rotate your backline into a position that they can help, which is going to be these forward high grounds. So it's going to be about taking space right now for Fishknot, trying to get a little bit of help from Salmon maybe to try to assault these high grounds. That way they don't instantly blow up. And if they can get some kills for their trouble as well, I mean, hell, why not?
I think the way they're positioned is really giving difficulty to Salmon right now to find an engagement. Akanya, on the other hand, gonna have just as much difficulty engaging. These Genjis are really being pressured down. There's a lot expected from them, but so few ways to get the job done. SCR, Salmon, not really able to engage this backline. This Ashe grouped up with the rest of the backline in the support. Does get a dive there, but immediately you see whether it's a coach gun or a whip shot that Genji is always pushed back and away. It's so hard to engage. There's even the sleep dart. It is, however, a nano boosted Winston that's going to be jumping on top of him. That will get the job done more often than not. Finds not only both of the supports, but going to continue to go forward. Geodry throws out the Primal Rage, does find Staney, but it's really just a lot of sustain here in the health pool. You don't have a whole lot of damage to output. Even gets stuck. They're fully committing to taking down Geodry right now, and it's for a good effort because they end up losing Fishknot, and you do not want to be down your tank when the other side has theirs.
Yeah, this fight's kind of broken out to a chaotic level where SCR went from completely in control of it to just kind of letting it slip out of their hands, and so now it's going to force a reset. They are coming into this next one. We're going to have quite a few ultimates for both squads here. I'm going to be looking towards these DPSs, especially the blades on either side here. If they end up getting stunned or CC'd away with something like a sleep dart, it's going to be tragic, but otherwise they could open it up for either of their teams.
And also heading in here with the rally, Dipsack's going to use the nano on Nara there, who almost has the rally available themselves. May just pile those ults on top of each other to keep themselves alive and keep the team in the fight. The rally does end up getting popped by Octane there, who's keeping Geodry off of them and actually almost takes that fight for a win. Cart still being pushed minimally here, so some distance gained, but it was only one player on at a time. Geodry finally takes down Octane when the rally runs out. Nara here going to try to counter back with a rally of their own. Not focused enough on keeping their other backliner alive, so Dipsac's going to drop. Going to be hard for Nara to stick around. Most players in this fight have gone down, starting into these scattered fights again.
The scattered fights, but I mean, this is where JOP seems to thrive right now. Is just going to be the Ash, the last one standing here, and that'll get SCR over the line to get them into point C with a healthy time bank to boot. But again, you know, you're thinking back to what happened to Dragon's Aura. This is where their attack started to peter out, right? There's not as much high ground to take advantage of. You're a little bit more open, susceptible to things. SCR, I suspect that if they can get through this in one fight with a Nano Blade, it'll be amazing for them in terms of their momentum. But otherwise, this could be another stalled out defense, or attack rather.
Dragon's Aura committed so much to that last fight. You can see JOP here is getting really, really sneaky and almost checked there by Salmon. Sorry, by Kenya. Almost checked, but instead they drop off of the high ground. So now the Tracer actually can engage from wherever they want. The backline all alone. Shiva going to try to help them out, but actually a little bit distant from the supports. Luckily, Geodry is able to get in very deep and find an elimination on the Staney. It might be both of the supports for both sides going down. We see that so frequently. Both sides always dropping those supports. JOP went really deep for some more eliminations. And now they do still have some contests from Geodry. You see all 5 coming online for Dragon's Aura at the same time. And now that Torbjorn going to be used in a very stable spot here in the back.
Yeah, but again, Primal should just be the end of this fight here, trying to keep these supports away at least for the time being. But now that we have a full 5v5, Geodry actually might go down.
Yeah, it looks like it was coming close for a second there. Does get the support needed, but draws a lot of attention away. Salmon chopping down 2, even taking the turret along the way. Gets slept, so won't be able to go any longer, but a second DPS ult committed. JOP finds Shiva. They're about to close out this map. This Ana's going to have no way to touch, and that will be the end of it. SCR really rolling through that point C there in a very hectic way, keeping the fight absolutely insane, and taking a win to put themselves up 2-0. They now sit on match point.
Yeah, and I think that hectic nature, it wasn't just point C, right? You think about pretty much the back half of point B was in a very similar sort of style, right? Where it was just sort of trading tick for tack, blow for blow. And these chaotic fights, it seems like SCR is just sort of relying on their pure mechanics. They know that they are mechanically better than Dragon's Aura, which is a safe assumption, right? But you know, seeing a team having to already rely on that against a team that you would not think can sort of pull up to the plate like Dragon's Aura, it shows that SCR is in a kind of vulnerable position. So despite that 2-0 lead, you know, I would not be surprised to see Dragon's Aura start to mount a comeback of some sort here when they can make the fights a little bit more slower, a little bit more actually within control and set fight plans here. It seems like Dragon's Aura is finding their moments to come out ahead.
SCR, a great dive team, always able to execute so well, but Dragon's Aura right now really challenging them on their own composition in this somewhat of a mirror. So 2-0, SCR are up. They've been able to take these games by a little bit, still standing in control. But when we come back from our break, we'll see if Dragon's Aura are going to be able to bring it back and put some points on the board themselves. We're going to head to a short break, but we will be right back with more Overwatch action right after this.
here, you get an insight and you know something, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you. But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful of a thing.
Welcome back in, everybody, to some EU Masters action here in the CGL. This game has been a little closer than some may have predicted. The scoreline doesn't quite say it just yet, but it is very possible that this one will not end in a sweep. Dragons are down 0-2 right now to SCR Esports, but looking to bring it back as soon as possible. They've been improving throughout the entirety of this game every time they re-engage with something. So very possible here that they could go ahead and try to take a map off of one of these top teams in EU Masters and start reclaiming their spot in the division. Mega, what do you think? Are we going to see a 3-0 sweep here, or do Dragons Aura have a shot at taking a map or two, maybe even finishing this one out with 3?
I would be surprised if we actually go with 3-0, because again, it's one of those things where on paper you would expect SCR to just sort of roll, but that's not been the case at all. They've sort of actually had to go sort of toe to toe and even sort of change how the game is played in order to make sure that they can keep advantage over Dragon's Aura right now, in terms of just how we've been playing so far. So I think it's going to be very, very crucial to see going into this next map what these teams are thinking, right? We just had a very good dive matchup. So potentially we'll see if either team is like, you know what, I don't want to run that dive back again, or maybe they want to worry about something a little bit more map dependent here. We'll have to see what these teams are thinking for their bans.
Yeah, and as we head into Esperanza, I think map dependent would be really wise here from the side of Dragon's Aura. Immediately, they are going to ban out that Ana, deciding that those antis, they just have not been answering them well enough, despite the fact that, honestly, I think when they were playing the Kiriko, they really did have some good moments, some quick answers to the antis, and it helped them get themselves forward. So banning the Ana, just so they don't have to deal with it anymore. Now it's SCR's ban, and honestly, they have open reign here because it's really their map to take. We saw what they favor here. They're going to ban out the Junker Queen. Very good ban for these push maps. It can be very, very snowbally, extremely aggressive. Not super surprised to see the Junker Queen get banned out on this map type in particular. I think it's really interesting here that Dragon's Aura don't go for something like, maybe this would be a good time for one of those DPS, the Sombra or the Tracer. It's seen so often on Esperanza where you just play from so many different angles, just throwing your DPS at them from everywhere. And that's a style that I think SCR actually would favor here.
Yeah, but I mean, I see the vision with the Ana ban as well here, since we are heading to Esperanza. It just means that we're going to probably see a complete mirror of Winston, Kiri, Lucio. Again, with the taking Juno out of the composition last time, that's sort of your soft, like, we don't want to deal with Ana anyway. But as we saw SCR, they were more than happy to just play the Ana break full time, even on their attack, even at the detriment of those supports' lives sometimes. But overall, again, this should be forcing a very similar look here. We do have some substitutions coming in on the side of SCR. You have JYT coming in, or it's just JYT coming in, and then Fish not going over to support. So, bit of an interesting little switch up here. We'll have to see if there's any sort of rhyme or reason to that, because again, Fish not looked pretty decent on the Winston. So, unless we're just not playing Winston anymore.
Could see why they wouldn't want to, honestly. They've got that Mauga available. They've banned out the Junker Queen. I mean, with the Junker Queen and Ana both unavailable here, there is no way to put any more anti-heal onto that Mauga. You just start pumping resources into them to make sure that they can never, ever fall. So maybe that's the style they want to go with. It was a map 1 Mauga pick from the side of Dragon's Aura. Maybe they knew something here, that the Mauga in the back pocket is something that's really scary to deal with here from SCR. We'll just have to wait and see what it is these teams are going to lock in on. But either way, I think this map style is going to be interesting to watch because it requires consistency in teamfight wins. And we've seen a lot more back and forth throughout this game that, on both maps that we've seen so far, rather than snowballs.
Yeah, and this sort of back and forth trade here, it hasn't. Again, it feels like SCR is purposely making the game more chaotic simply to make it a more mechanical game. Because in these situations where we've seen Dragon's Aura be able to plan themselves out and fight plan for what they want to do, they really have been coming out ahead in terms of not just focusing down the sports, just their overall fight plans have been very cohesive, very clean. It seems like we are leaning into that Mauga mirror, though, but we do have that. Oh, that being said, Dragon's Aura at the last minute does switch over to the Winston. This is more standard about what you expect here. There's not a lot of damage to burst through the Mauga with Dragon's Aura's comp, so their goal is going to be to burst down everybody else and kind of just ignore the Mauga, let him free fire. As long as he's not killing anybody, then it won't be too much of an issue. But it does mean you're going to have to play quick because this Mauga will not be passive for long.
Yeah, I think that's a serious problem as well, because as we can see, JYT is going to be falling back and supporting their team very, very frequently. So, SCR so far having success in a very quick first team fight win. Listen, Mega, you said it needed to be fast, and SCR made it happen. It might not have been the team you were talking about, but...
Listen, speed was the name of the game there, and SCR showed that they could play the speed. And I think Dragon's Aura, they're smart, right? They obviously is there ways to make the Winston work? Yes, they just make a full-scale swap here. Everybody making some substitutions here. The Reaper and Orisa combo. Again, this is showing the hurt of taking the Queen out of the game, but the Reaper is a good pick specifically into the Mauga, but not really much else. So once you burst down that tank, we got to make sure that the value is found.
When speaking of bursting down, Dipesax gets taken down really quick there. Geodry drops as well, and you know that that's the end of things, but yet still getting collapsed on. JYT, the only player to get picked up. Actually, the player you'd expect to maybe last go down in this composition. Goes a little bit too far forward to take up all those support resources, but it's already halfway through for SCR, taking this snowball seriously.
Yeah, already got the forward spawns activated. SCR, they're just going to continue on their domination here. Dragon's Aura wants to meet them at the corner and just contest it for the time being, knowing they don't have the full team, but this Orisa can only stand on the line of fire for so long.
Stays there just long enough to keep it around the corner. Pushes a little bit past, but it's going to be an engagement here from Jop, taking down Nara, knowing now after finding both supports that you will not need to pop that overclock. You get to hang on to that resource. This poor Torbjorn, the last player remaining, going to get stomped on, and Jop is going to say, that one's mine too, actually. Yoink. So, a little bit more progress being gained from SCR. This one's getting kind of out of control. Although there's 7 and almost 8 minutes remaining, you're getting to a point where it's going to take a long game for Dragon's Aura to come back.
Yeah, and I mean, look at this, right? The snowball is continuing in SCR. They can keep it going. They're going to have all 5 ultimates coming online due to the swaps and things of that nature. It really is only a Molten Core to work with right now for the side of Dragon's Aura. Don't get me wrong, Molten Core can have its value, but there's just so much that SCR can do in this next fight.
And it gets used really early as well, which means it's not being used to counteract any of the ultimates from the side of SCR. I can't believe Shiva made it out of that one. Tries to re-engage and goes down quickly. It was a quick drop from Fishnot and actually Staney as well on SCR. Not having those supports is going to be really, really bad for trying to finish up this map. SCR going to have a rough time actually making to that end goal point. But if Job can keep finding those picks, who needs health? Just keep taking down everybody on the other side. The Wrecking Ball drops as well. Shiva's taken down before Jop is finally found. Some of these players starting to re-engage now. The supports of SCR starting to get back in this one. And with that cage fight still online, closing in on that last little piece of the map, this one can just end really quickly.
I mean, yeah, I was going to say, you can just run cage fight the door, make it so nobody can run out of it. Death Blossom's now trying to come in, but I think it's just too little too late.
Yeah, this one is out of control. That orbital ray keeping everybody alive and increasing the damage as well. The last 2 meters will be gained. It was the most dominant display we've seen in the entirety of this game. So there's your answer for why we had a new tank come in on the side of SCR. That is exactly how they wanted to play that match. And in very few minutes used and very many remaining, they will take their third map, and win the match, setting themselves at a really good record of 4-1 overall in the EU Masters.
4-1. They want to keep adding those wins to the column because, you know, that postseason is in their sights, and the goal, and, you know, obviously that seeding is what they're going to be playing for, to get as high up as they can. Dragon's Aura, again, you know, they had some bright spots in this matchup. It just, unfortunately, you know, you had 2 good maps, and then when it came to Esperanza, you just let it snowball out of your hands. There's not really a ton you could do when you're watching that one back. It just sort of completely got out of your grasp. So back to the drawing board once again here. They still have 3 more matches on the season, though. I'd be very surprised to see if they don't come up with at least 1 victory, because it seems like this squad just improves and learns every single time.
A very impressive showing from them. A good way to wrap it up, because we had some questions in that one, especially in the first 2 maps, of why it was looking a little bit different than what we expected. And that third game, that's about what we expected to see. That was the full form playoffs ready SCR there that showed up for us. So congratulations to them on their 3-0 victory. We may have an interview at the end of this game. I'm sure we're trying to line one up right now. We're going to have one after a very short break. It's going to be a lot shorter than the one that we had before, so definitely stick around. We'll be talking to one of those players from SCR here in just a moment, so we'll see you in just a few.
Can't you see?
Alrighty, welcome back in, everybody. We've got our post-game interview set up for you here now. From SCR, we've got, Fishnot. Fishnot, thank you for joining us here on the desk. Congratulations on your victory today. How you feeling after that one?
Cheers. Well, to be honest, we're kind of all desperate to go to the pub because it's it's a cheeky Saturday night, so thought we'd get it over and done with pretty quick.
Well, you guys wrapped that one up real nice and clean on map 3. We could really see it there. So, first one I've got for you here is just, I'm curious about in that last map, you guys looked so much more dominant than the previous two. Were they giving you a little bit more trouble on that dive than you expected them to?
To be honest, like, actually, it's literally the first time we've ever played dive. Like JYT is our tank player, and, like, I'll be honest, he doesn't play, he's very white. He doesn't play Winston at all. So I thought we'd sub me, the Winston Extraordinaire, in on tank, and we'd give it a go. And I mean, like, Salmon was just doing God's work, and then Yop was killing everyone, so actually fine. It's like, it's just, yeah, really nice.
I mean, hey, listen, you know, for a first time, it looked pretty solid, but obviously, you know, it did have its pain points here or there. But I mean, like you said, when you had your main tank player in, everything sort of just went the way that you wanted it to. Is this just normally how you guys run, just a lot of rush compositions, and you just rush till it doesn't work anymore?
But yeah, to be fair, like, everyone knows that, like, we're a Mega team, but it's just, we're actually, like, trying to not play Mega, and I think we did actually have an idea. We did scrim once with me on tank, but then I only played Maga as well. So actually, yeah, I mean, we just thought we'd try me on Winston. It's like, I mean, it's basically the only tank I actually play, so it worked pretty well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'd certainly say it produced some good results here, but I mean, now, again, just sort of picking back, like, is this something that you think you're going to be able to improve on further, or is it just, you know, being a Malga team, I mean, you're at a 4-1 record now. It clearly is working for you. You might just want to stay the course and see where it gets you.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like, I think the way, if you know, like, much about this tier, like, I know you guys probably haven't watched this tier, like, the teams we've played are, like, to be honest, they're, like, kind of combo, like, I don't know if I can say that word, sorry, like, there's a lot of, like, there's, like, 4 good teams, and we, like, haven't played them, so, honestly, I think we probably lose, like, in the matchup. Because honestly, like, in scrims, when we scrim them, D.Va feels super strong, and actually maybe really strong into Maga. But we kind of, against the lesser teams, we can probably really dominate on Maga, but I think we do need to try something different against the better teams, that we don't play right till the end of this stage.
Okay.
It's going to be a big test for you guys because coming off of that mid-season tournament, we saw that, well, you guys didn't get totally swept out of the playoffs. You guys did go down in that round of semifinals in that first round there, so weren't able to head to that finals like you wanted to. I'm curious, heading forward in this one, do you think that these tougher games at the end of your season are better for you to move in toward the postseason, knowing what you're going up against, or would you have preferred to see those teams back toward the earlier end of the season to be able to work on and improve on things that you weren't able to?
I guess, right, 50-50, right? Because if we might have been a better team right now if we'd have played those games. But at the same time, it's like we're kind of a mixture of 2 teams, basically. Like, we have basically me and Staney's team. And then we brought Yop over, even though you guys were saying it JYP. His name's Yop. Like, we brought those guys over, and then, like, we're trying to, like, slowly bring, like Mojo, who can play, like, non-Mega maps. But it's actually 35 days since he did his data request. And he doesn't have it. Like, he's done it again, and he still doesn't get it. Like, Blizzard hates this guy. So we were kind of hoping by the time we play those hard games, we'll actually have, like, a full roster with, like, a lot of flexibility. Obviously, bans makes it hard, but subs being after bans is, like, such an enormous advantage for non-5-man rosters, to be honest. Like, it's so much better than if it was a roster before bans, like, situation.
Well, congratulations on your guys' win once again. You guys go enjoy yourself at the pub. You guys have a good one. We'll get on Jop, Yop, whatever his name is. We'll get him to fill out that team sheet next time so that we know how to pronounce his name before the game, not after it starts.
We streamed a second ago, so.
Okay. Yeah, well, we'll work on that, and next time we will pronounce it correctly. But either way, he's a victor. He's 4-1, and so are the rest of you. So congratulations on that, and good luck moving forward.
Bye. 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 Bye.
Another match of Overwatch in the books, huh?
Oh yeah, an EU Masters this time, Mega. Definitely a place we don't usually get situated into. So it was nice to get a little bit of insight on these two teams and see how this is starting to shape up. SCR still going to hang out toward the top. Dragon Zora dropping down to 0-5. Not really a good spot to be in if you want to be looking at playoffs at the end of the season.
Yeah, no, but I mean, at this point, it's just about sort of playing it out, learning, improving every single week as you can, and doing what you got to do here. But hey, listen, that's the beauty of CGL. In case the season doesn't go your way, just learn, improve, get ready for the next one. But this CGL day is just getting started, of course. Well, at least the day overall is getting started, I should say. The NA side of things has a matchup for us. We're here done in EU. It was supposed to be Vortex versus Moss, but guess what? Team Vortex decided they didn't want to show up today. So make sure you tune in on the NA side. You got the Glizzy Goats going against the Nightmare Rotation. It's always fun to see Nightmare Rotation. Dirt on Roadhog. What will he do? Type energy. But yeah, I mean, it should just be a fun match. Make sure you don't miss that one later.
Still plenty to go, and then of course tomorrow's games as well, circling around the same times there for EU and NA, our last games of this week 5. And man, I mean, we are rushing toward the postseason very quickly at this point. I'm excited to see the way all of these second half of the season is going to shape up for all of these different divisions, all these different tiers here. So EU, NA, all the way Masters, Grandmasters, Diamond, Open. It's been very entertaining to watch so far. Some teams already have championships in the book, having taken those mid-season tournaments. And now they're going to be heading toward a postseason, trying to take the overall championship, establish themselves as the absolute best. That's all we have for you for now, though. Glizzy Goats Nightmare Rotation will be your game coming up at 20 Eastern. So tune in for that one. For now, that's all we got for you. My name is Speedy. This is Megalast. Thank you to our production today for everything that they do. And congratulations to SCR on the win. Everybody at home, we will see you again very soon, hopefully for that NA game. If not tomorrow, keep tuning into CGL for even more great Overwatch action.